Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Bow News Network. We are actually tracking a significant weather event that's actually occurring at this time. We're actually looking into Friday evening, April 9th, and there's a significant amount of weather activity that's actually brewing as a result of a low that's actually centered, a shortwave trough that's actually centered over pretty much the center of Texas on the, I would say the northeast side of Texas. And as it transitions further and kind of makes its grip on the southeast, it's going to actually be influencing the weather in the for the southeast states of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas area quite a bit. And so before we actually get started with this update, if you do appreciate weather content, please go ahead and like and share and subscribe to our channel so that we can actually provide the latest information for you as we get further into the weather here, significant weather events that are actually occurring. So as we get into this update, we're actually looking at a moderate thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm and supercell formation activity in the area of Mississippi. We're primarily looking at the area of Jackson, Mississippi area. We're primarily looking at Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Monroe, Louisiana, as well as Meridian, Mississippi. And that's pretty much a triangulated area that we're actually looking at right now. And you can actually see from this graphic that we've actually placed here, you can actually see the zone of severe thunderstorm activity that has been issued as an advisory for the residents of Louisiana, for the residents of Arkansas, for the residents of Mississippi area, as this low pressure system actually makes its way centered in the area of Texas. Over the next 24 hours, we have to say there's a very high chance of precipitation, very severe thunderstorm activity along the New Orleans, southern coast of Louisiana. Even the panhandle of Florida should anticipate significant thunderstorm activity in the next 24 hours. We have been actually taking a closer look at what we see here as the dew points, and the dew points are actually hovering in the upper 60s right now, which is very favorable for heavy precipitation, primarily when we take a look at the Cape profiling, which we're going to take a look at very shortly as the system actually makes its way. The interesting part enough is that, as we discussed in a prior update, we anticipated that this system would actually make, you can actually see a dew point gradient line along the I-35 corridor all the way down to Laredo, Texas, which is pretty interesting because it seems like as this system makes its way across and it's a cyclonic activity, cyclonic formation with this low pressure system combined with the hot, moist air that's actually rising up from the Gulf of Mexico, we can almost see a clearly defined dew point corridor along this line, which kind of mimics the line of the I-35. So anything east of the I-35, east into the area of Houston, east into the Louisiana area, we're actually looking at Monroe, Louisiana. We're looking at Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We're also looking at Jackson, Mississippi. If we were to triangulate that zone, we're going to see tremendous severe thunderstorm activity in this area for the next few hours, for the next 24 hours, even all the way down to New Orleans. Significant thunderstorm activity, possibly large hail, possibly very large, possibly supercell formation. And there was even chatter along the weather Twitter feeds that possibly a derecho event would occur, where a very tight, very powerful supercell thunderstorm activity would be extended as this system actually makes its way west. Do keep in mind that there's also another low that is actually above the area of Wisconsin, near the Wisconsin area, and that's going to be bringing additional turbulent weather for that area also. But our primary focus is going to be on the moderate with possible tornado alerts in the area of Jackson, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana at this time. So we're actually taking a look, and we see very, very low upper dew points, which signifies saturation of water vapor. And as we go towards our next category, we actually take a look at precipitable water table, which has to do with the very, very surface of ground surface, the amount of water or a rainfall that could accumulate in a particular zone. And we do see quite a bit of saturation here also on the precipitable water forecast model. So as we take a closer look at this area, we also take a look at relative temperatures at ground level, and we see significant warm temperature anomalies. We see here in the hundreds in areas of Texas, in the mid-90s. If we go over to Arizona, we see that Yuma, Arizona is 95 degrees, pretty much in the 70s, the mid-70s for California. And then if we go all the way up to east to Florida, we're looking at the upper 70s for areas of Miami. But if you look at the west coast of Southwest Florida, that's actually touching in the 80s, the low 80s. So quite a bit of warm air, and that's actually fueled by this moist, very humid air coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, combined with this low pressure system that has been transitioning its way across, and it basically sped its way across the Great Plains area into the southeast section of the United States. If you recall, it actually deposited quite a bit of snow in the Great Basin based on our previous reports, and as it made its way across the continental United States, across the Great Plains, into the central Texas, into the west side of Louisiana, west side of Arkansas, it's having a significant impact on the weather in this area. So as we go forward into this weather forecast, we're going to be taking a closer look at what's called Cape profiling, and we've actually shown it on our cuboid that we earlier loaded, and we're going to go ahead that we like to load with the cuboids, and we're going to actually go ahead and load this cuboid, and you can actually see the different dimensions that we have actually mentioned here in our forecast. And of course, the dimensions are going to be precipitation, going to be the dew point, is also going to be temperature, also the precipitable table that we mentioned before, and also Cape profiling. And as we take a closer look at the Cape values, we're seeing significant Cape profile values, mid-level Cape in the region of 3,600 to 4,000 joules per kilogram, which is pretty significant. And as you can see, it's primarily fueled by this large body of Gulf of Mexico, which sea surface temperature is rising quite a bit. It's getting warm, and that's why the Weather Service has actually put out an update as of 24 hours ago that we anticipate that this hurricane season is going to be very, very active with potential of 17 named storms. And as you already know, a majority of the activity from our previous hurricane season had a lot to do with many of the impact of the storms in Port Charles area of Texas. Was really battered by the various impacts of hurricanes in the 2020 hurricane season. We do anticipate, based on our forecasting model, being that the high over the Bermuda area will be shifted quite a bit, that the path of the 2021 season, the storms will actually be a little bit more in line with going parallel to the state of Florida. East Coast and the West Coast should anticipate increased weather activity simply because of the shifting of the high over Bermuda, which is often a steering mechanism as far as the impact of shifting the path of the hurricanes, which usually sometimes ride along the Lesser Antilles, going north of Puerto Rico, north of Dominican Republic, Haiti, skirting the mountains of Cuba into the Bahamas, and possibly into the Gulf of Mexico or along the east coast of Florida. So we're actually taking a very closer look at the impact and what's actually developing with the Gulf of Mexico and the sea surface temperatures there, impact of weather for the southeast coast states such as Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, Georgia, Panhandle, Florida. So these are different index values that we look at for potential storm helicity as well as storm potential and intensity going forward. But we can actually see values that are tremendous in the area of east central Texas, west Louisiana, also the area of Mississippi. So that is actually the weather forecast that we're actually working on at this time. Keep in mind that we are looking at temperatures that are skirting in the mid 70s to upper 80s now. So we're actually full-fledged in our spring season. But do keep in mind that the peak of the tornadoes are primarily between March and June. So this is actually our red alert period. The tornado season pretty much goes from January to December, but primarily I'd say 70%, almost 70% of the tornadoes are concentrated between March and June. So we here at the Weather Center pay a lot more closer attention in those months, but tornadoes can happen at any time during the year as long as the favorable conditions are there for to really contribute to supercell formation, as well as increased chance of hail, increased chance of very severe thunderstorms. So as we go forward into this broadcast, we're going to be taking a closer look at the areas of, as we mentioned before, Jackson, Mississippi, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Monroe, Louisiana, as well as Meridian, Mississippi, and that's going to be primarily our focus for this update. I do send my heartfelt condolences to those who were affected by the tornadoes just a few days ago that were impacting that area. And by all means, don't lower your guard at this time, even though this event is not as severe as the ones faced in previous weeks. But do keep in mind that moderate severe thunderstorms are in the forecast for the areas of East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and West Alabama at this time. So thank you so much for watching Bio News Network. Please go ahead and subscribe, share, and like this video with friends and family who are impacted by these storms. And always remember to bow to the weather.